Hello. Welcome to your Breathe Easy Education Day 1. My name is Sarah. I'm one of the respiratory therapists working in Breathe Easy in Red Deer. So today we're going to introduce the pulmonary rehab program Breathe Easy to you. This is your guide to living well with chronic lung disease. So the textbook definition of pulmonary rehab is a lengthy one. It's a comprehensive intervention based on a thorough patient assessment, which you all had with a respiratory therapist when you had your pre-assessment, followed by a patient-tailored therapies that include, but are not limited to, exercise training, education, and behavior change. This is designed to improve your physical and psychological condition, anybody with a chronic respiratory disease, and this is to promote the long-term adherence to health-enhancing behaviors. So basically, you will be learning tools, tips, and tricks to improve your overall quality of life and your management of chronic lung disease. At the end of every presentation, you will see this slide. Most of the information that we pulled into our education come from these two websites, Living Well with COPD and Living Well with Pulmonary Fibrosis. Back in the day, those were the two most common lung diseases that we brought into the program, but now we're seeing way more. We're seeing interstitial lung disease, long COVID, asthma. So it'll be interesting to see how over time this education evolves. So we cover 16 different topics, all related to your lung disease. So pretty much the full gamut. Number one, this is where we are, living well and breathing easy. In a little bit, we're going to talk about personal program goals. The second is exercise. So you will learn in depth what exercise means, including frequency, intensity, time, and type. Next, we will talk about living well with chronic lung disease. So this is where you will learn about all of the different respiratory diseases and hopefully be able to identify and learn more about what's happening inside your lungs. We'll talk about breathing management. This is where we introduce breathing techniques and coughing techniques that will help you manage not only your shortness of breath, but your phlegm if you have any. Energy conservation. Energy conservation. This is an area where we all can make some adjustments in how we are working in our day-to-day to have more energy for the things that we love to do. Breathing medications and inhaler techniques. So we will learn about all of the different respiratory medications. This includes puffers, pills, injections, and otherwise. And then the next one, we will learn about how to properly take your puffers. There's many different devices on the market now, and it's absolutely imperative that you're taking your puffers with the correct technique so that you can be sure that that medication is making it all the way down into the depths of your lungs where it needs to be. Integrating exercise into your life. From this point in the program on, you will begin to think about what you are going to do after the program ends to make sure that you keep this ball rolling. 8 is redundant, disregard. Respiratory infections. So 9, 10, and 11 are all in relation to building a breathing action plan. Respiratory infections, we will learn about what specifically you're watching for, signs of a chest infection, and there is a length of time in which you want to go before you seek help or activate your pharmacy action plan for antibiotics and prednisone. Aggravating environmental factors, so things in your environment, both inside and outside, that bother your breathing. You'll learn tips and tricks on how to reduce or eliminate your exposure to those environmental factors. Stress management. We talk a lot in the program about the relationship between your emotions and your breathing. Here you will learn specific tools that can be very, very helpful to help mitigate the emotional effect on your shortness of breath. Nutrition. In Red Deer, we have a guest speaker that comes to talk to us about all things nutrition. Lots of tips and tricks there depending on where you're at with your goals and the severity of your lung disease. Sometimes the goal is to gain weight. Sometimes the goal is to lose weight. Travel and leisure. So we'll talk about the importance of having things to look forward to. This doesn't necessarily mean jet setting to Cabo San Lucas every 6 months. Sometimes this is, preparing for a trip a couple hours away to visit a friend or a family member. And with chronic lung disease, you can still plan for those things, and you can still do things that you're passionate about, that make you happy. Getting a good night's sleep. So we, myself included, we can all do things to improve our sleep hygiene and setting ourselves up for a good night's sleep. So we'll talk about some of those things and break them down. Enjoying intimacy and social time. So we as humans, we inherently need to feel love and connection. So that includes with our partners, but that also includes in all relationships in our life. So we'll break down the different types of intimacy, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then the final session is number 16, and we pull it all together. So all of the things we talked about, how can you incorporate those into your life to live a healthy and fulfilling life? So lots of things to come, lots of very exciting topics, full of little gold nuggets that you can pull into your day-to-day. So let's get into the meat of today's session. We're going to introduce program goals. Next, we'll talk about being healthy with CLD, chronic lung disease, and improving your quality of life. And we'll talk about some healthy behaviors. And you'll have some take-home activities. So there will be throughout the program, if you're working through a binder, some awareness exercises. Some of these things will also be mandatory requirements for graduation. And as we go through the education sessions, we will let you know if that corresponds with something that's a requirement. But the awareness exercises are built in so that you can get to know your lung disease better, get to know your management strategies better. So I really encourage you, whenever there's a form or a sheet to fill out, take some time to do that because it is going to help overall, okay? So what are your personal program goals? So take a moment and think about what you might want to get out of the program. So you are all here because a healthcare professional on your care team thought it would be valuable. A lot of times this is your respirologist, but not always. Occasionally we do have people that self-refer, but typically it's somebody that told you to come here. So you need to make it so that it's meaningful for you, right? Yes, my respirologist told me I need to be here. You went through all the steps, you were pre-assessed, you had your respirology consult, and now we're here. So for the next 8 weeks, how are you going to get the most out of this time? And this is what we're talking about with program goals. So here's what some of the previous participants have said their program goals are. Decrease shortness of breath. Become more active. Continue to be more active if they already have a movement practice in their day-to-day. Learn about lung disease. Remain stable and feel in control. Lose weight or gain weight, depending. And learn about proper oxygen use if that's relevant in your life. So these are all very general ideas, but it's tough to measure. What short of breath feels to me is completely different than what short of breath feels to you. My level of activity is completely different than your level of activity. So what we need to do is take these general ideas and make them meet what's called SMART criteria, so that they're specific and meaningful for you, and so that it's easy to tell when you've accomplished the goal. If your goal is to be more active, okay, well, what does that mean? How will you know when you're more active, right? Let's make that more specific. So setting your goals, they must match the SMART criteria. SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, agreed upon, realistic, and time-based. So specific has to do with taking this general idea of being more active and make it more specific. So I want to be able to work through a 1 hour workout 3 times a week by the end of the program, right? I will know instantly when I've accomplished that because, okay, I've done a 1 hour workout. Great. Program goal achieved. Another example is I want to be able to walk to the mailbox without stopping by the end of the program. So it meets all of those criteria and you will instantly know when you've accomplished that goal. Okay. Agreed upon. To me, I interpret that as it's meaningful to me. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you what your goals are. You know, by the end of the 8 weeks, you're going to be able to dance the cha-cha without stopping. Maybe you don't even like cha-cha music, right? So I'm not going to tell you what your goals are. That's up to you to decide, and only you know what's meaningful and important to you. Realistic. So nobody in this program, including me, is going to be registering for the Boston Marathon by the end of the year. So realistic means something that it's possible for you to attain. If you're not used to goal setting, you might need to rework these goals a little bit. I'll give you an example. We had a gentleman in the last program that wanted to lose 30 pounds by the end of the 8 weeks. That's a lot. That is a lot to lose in 2 months. That's 15 pounds a month. And when we're talking about getting older, chronic conditions, it becomes harder to shed weight quickly because we're movement restricted, right? Our breathing is restricted. We have other things going on, arthritis, maybe some heart problems. So it is virtually impossible to shed that much weight that quickly. So at about the 3/4 of the way through the program, I always talk to all participants and check in with their goals. And he said, I've lost 4 pounds, which is awesome in the last month, but I'm realizing now that 30 pounds might have been a bit unrealistic, right? And so we can tweak our goals. If we realize that we might have been a little overzealous, maybe a little bit unrealistic, we can take a look at that and say, okay, I've lost 4 pounds. I'm on the right track. Why don't I tweak this goal to lose 8 pounds by the end of the 8 weeks? So all I have to do is reproduce what I've already accomplished in the next 4 weeks, right? So this takes a little bit of time and some tweaking, and that's okay. And time-based. So we, as humans, are lazy and complacent. Don't get offended. Everybody is. It's just our human nature. We attach a time to our goals because it forces us into action. If we don't, I want to walk to the end of the mailbox. Okay. We can put that off indefinitely, every day until our very last breath. But as soon as we say by the end of the 8 weeks or by the summer or by the end of the year, already we've now created a roadmap from now until whenever that time is. So you're allowed to put whatever time you want, and you're allowed to change that time if you need more or less time, but start with the time. So here's some examples of how we took those general ideas that people have said their goals are and changed them to meet that SMART criteria. So if your goal is decrease shortness of breath, by the end of the program, I want to be able to climb 1 flight of stairs without stopping due to shortness of breath. All of those SMART criteria are there. And the most important thing is by the end of the program, there's the time frame, right? So this person will instantly know when this goal is accomplished, when they can climb that 1 flight of stairs without stopping, right? Here's another example. Be able to take out the garbage without gasping, even in cold weather. And I'm assuming it's still by the end of the program. So as soon as they're able to do that, they know they've accomplished that goal. If your goal is to be more active, let's make that meet the SMART criteria to be able to walk to the mailbox daily without stopping for a rest. And another example, to be able to return to work at least part-time within the next 3 months. Okay, so see how these general ideas become something that matches that criteria to be more specific and meaningful to you. Okay, so it's at this point that I always like to share a story. And basically, what we're looking for your program goals is something that's going to get you off your favorite chair, off the couch, and either if you're virtual, signing into the program or getting in your vehicle and making it to our face-to-face program, what is going to get you there? So I want your goals to be something that really hits home. So if that's playing with grandkids, if that's being able to start doing something that you've always loved to do and you haven't been able to do because of breathing, right? Or maybe that's something that you've always wanted to do but you've been afraid to do because of your shortness of breath. Okay, so as meaningful as possible. And not to worry, it's really again, normal for humans to not always feel motivated. So these program goals, you can look at them and think, okay, I didn't have a good sleep. I'm having a crappy breathing day. But I wrote down here that by the summer, I want to be able to walk to the ice cream shop without stopping with my grandkids. So man, I gotta go to the program. I gotta do this work because that is so meaningful to me, right? So my brother is a professional Muay Thai fighter. That's a mixed martial arts. So basically, he gets paid to stay in amazing shape and enter the ring against opponents. He told me that he's only ever motivated for about 75% of his workouts. This is his life. His life is fitness, and he can't even motivate himself 100% of the time. So we shouldn't have the expectation that we can do that either. So if we're only motivated a certain amount of the time, and the rest of the time we have to look at our program goals, or as Scott says it, his whys, why am I doing this? We look and say, oh, right, my grandkids, that's my why. Okay, got to get to the program. And that's your motivation. Okay, so that's really what the point of this is what is going to keep you motivated when you are not self-motivated. Okay. So before I go on, taking a look at section 1 of your binder, if you're working through a binder, there's a sheet of paper that says, let's work towards your program goals. There's the SMART criteria across the top, and there's space to write 3 goals. Get as specific as you possibly can. Pick meaningful goals. This might mean you have to think about this, maybe even talk to some people in your life to determine what these things are, and get down your goals as best as you can. Okay. After you've written down your goals, step 2 is write down the behaviors you will need to change in order to accomplish your goals. So most of the time, we are standing directly in our own way of accomplishing our goals. I'll give you a simple example. If you want to be able to walk to the mailbox without stopping, maybe you have to slow down. Maybe your ego is telling you you need to go a certain speed because that's the speed you've always gone, but it's no longer working for you now that you have a chronic lung condition. So giving yourself permission to slow down might mean you can walk farther. It sounds super easy, but most of the time it is that simple. So once you have your 3 concrete goals that match that SMART criteria down, take a look at what you might need to change, alter, tweak, or start doing in order to remove those obstacles on your path to achieving that goal. Okay, and if you're having problems with this, not to worry. We can have a conversation. I can ask you some questions to kind of help to draw out that information. Okay. And the third part of the sheet is your plan. So once you know what you want to accomplish, once you know what you have to start, stop, change, or tweak to accomplish your goals, then you can create the roadmap towards accomplishing your goals. Okay, so the plan, and this can be anything you want. So if you want to walk to the mailbox without stopping, maybe week 1 you experiment with a slower pace and stop when you need to stop. Maybe week 2, you pay attention to your shortness of breath numbers and you walk until you're about a 5 to 6 out of 10. And you will learn in the exercise portion of the class that you usually stop for a rest when you're about a 5 to 6 out of 10. And then maybe every week after that, you work on increasing the length a little bit. Okay, so that's just one example. And again, I can help you with the plan. It does take a little bit of thought and some care and attention, but anything you want. And basically it's the roadmap. Every step I need to take from where I'm at now until I can accomplish that goal. Okay, so that is your program goal sheet. That will be your homework after today's class. And typically, I like to see those in the first couple weeks of the program. Know what you're working towards as soon as you start the program. And then about 3/4 of the way through, maybe the last couple weeks, I'll be talking to all participants about how their goals are going and if you need to make any changes or tweaks, okay? So what is good health? We're switching gears here a little bit. This is different to everybody. This is completely subjective. But it's important to be able to identify what good health means to you. So here's what some previous participants have said. Having a normal, good quality life. Being independent in daily activity. So being able to do the things that you want to do. Having social and leisure activities, having some things to look forward to. Having personal goals and dreams. So be working towards things. It's really sad to me that at a certain age, we kind of stop working towards things and we're just kind of living, right? Why do we have to stop having goals and dreams? We should always be working towards something. And that doesn't always have to be like a physical thing. Maybe that is learning a new skill, learning a new language, picking up that really big book you've wanted to read, but you've been afraid of the commitment, or, whatever that means to you. Always be working towards something. Being in control. So this doesn't mean micromanaging everything in your life and everyone's life around you, but this means having the tools and the skills necessary to overcome what life throws at you. We're not always aware or prepared. That's why having a good toolkit, especially when we're talking about lung disease management, having tools in your toolkit that you can pull out to use to help you work through any situation. And that's what we're learning in the program. So living well with lung disease. Here, 2 very classic pictures here. I remember these well in my respirology textbooks. On the left here, you can see this person looks very glum. They're inside with the shades drawn. You can see that it's a nice sunny day. They've got their TV remote in their hand and they're kind of slumped in the chair like, okay, this is all I'm capable of doing. So it's important to remember that we are allowed to have days like this. I had a crappy sleep and I don't feel like doing anything. So I'm going to have a relaxing day. Or I had a big appointment in the city yesterday and I'm totally played out. So this is my rest day, right? We're allowed to have days like this. And sometimes being able to choose a day like this intentionally is very empowering. The point is, we don't want to live here. We don't want to feel like we can only have days like this. Okay, so the goal is to be able to have days like this so that we can also have days like this person on the right. So they're outside, they're walking their dog, they're enjoying the nice weather, they're getting the sun on their face. This is very important for your overall well-being, to be able to leave the house to do the things that you want to do. Okay, and so it's our human tendency to make ourselves wrong for having rest. Our society programs into our brains that if we are stagnant, we are failing. And that is completely wrong. Rest is very important, especially when you have a chronic condition. So we need to plan to have rest to help to offset those really busy days, like a big follow-up appointment in the city, right? So you can be healthy with lung disease by taking charge of your health. You all have taken charge of your health by going through this initial process and being officially enrolled in the program. So you've done all that work, might as well stick it out now, eh? So what are some ways to be healthy? Exercising regularly. You'll all be doing that a lot in the program, and hopefully building those tools and building that habit to keep daily movement a part of your life when the program ends and you graduate. Quitting smoking will always be the best thing you can do for your health right now. And we'll be talking about that more in the program. And as well, you'll have the opportunity to have some support if you'd like to become smoke-free at any point during the program. Adopting a healthy diet, the fuel that we give our body has an amazing ability to either improve or make things worse. And we'll be talking about specifics. Getting a good night's sleep. We spend about a third of our lives asleep. That's a long time. If we're not doing it right, it has the ability to affect other areas of our life, every area of our life as well. Planning for leisure activities and trips, having things to look forward to. Complying with your medications. And enjoying intimacy, staying connected with the important people in our lives. So these are all some ways to be healthy. You may have some additional things to add to this list as well. And if you're able to identify those, that is excellent awareness. Learning to live well with lung disease. So highlights of our program. You will learn to manage your breathing. A big part of this is to first become aware of your breathing, how it's changing moment to moment, when to know when to stop and rest, how to know how to stop and rest. So that's where breathing techniques come into play. Preventing and treating your symptoms. So we first have to identify what our normal symptoms are. So then we know what to watch for if something changes. And then once we know what our symptoms are, we know and we'll learn some tips and tricks on how to manage, reduce, and improve those. Managing stress and anxiety. This is a big one. You will learn, first of all, how to recognize when anxiety is driving how you're feeling and how to manage that. Creating, developing, and integrating an action plan. So we actually talk about 2 different action plans in the program. The pharmacy action plan has to do with prednisone and antibiotics, waiting at your pharmacy in case you get a chest infection. Some people like to have this at home so they don't actually have to leave the house, especially if you get recurrent infections. We also develop a breathing action plan. So everything that we talk about, all of your breathing management will be on either a 1 or 2-page document that you will be able to share with your family doctor, with your respirologist, with your friends and family, whoever needs to know. And this is a very, very empowering document because it's, hey, look at all of my management strategies, right? And keeping a healthy and fulfilling life. So improving the quality of your life, improving the quality of your symptoms, means living a healthy and fulfilling life. So take-home activities, write down your personal goals, and if you can, write down some behaviors that you need to change, alter, tweak, or initiate in order to pave the way to your goals. And definitely reach out if you have any questions at all regarding those sheets. Okay? Welcome to Breathe Easy. We're so excited to have you with us over the next 8 weeks. We're going to learn so much. You're going to become so confident and empowered to manage, and that'll take you through and lead you into the rest of your life, really. So here's that the last slide with those references here, and that is it for today. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.